Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Kayla Unfiltered, the housing call-in show. Let's kick off another episode of real conversations, real stories, and real housing issues that impact landlords, tenants, and taxpayers across Ontario. Before we dive into tonight's show, we've got a few important updates and news from the past week. First up, February 24th, Cambridge City Council voted on a major update to Property Standards Bylaw. This law affects all residential properties, including rental housing, and strengthens the city's ability to enforce maintenance, safety, and occupancy standards. Here are key points landlords need to know. Landlords are now clearly responsible for maintaining their properties in good repair at all times. This includes roofs, walls, windows, plumbing, electrical systems, and heating. I don't think they read the RTA. The city can require professional inspections, written reports if ordered. Heating requirements are strict. Landlords must maintain at least 21 degrees from October 1st to May 15th, above provincial minimums. Pest control and mold remedies explicitly of landlord's responsibility. The city can mandate professional testing and work to be done. This is going to be fun. Occupancy standards are defined, finally. Maximum 2 persons per bedroom, with children under 12 counting as half a person. A lot of kids in that house. Landlords must maintain essential services, heat, water, electricity at all times. Again, we're going to get into the wording through this show. Vacancy properties must be secured, insured, and maintained. If landlords fail, the city can step in and add cost to the tax roll. They love that tool. Enforcement is stronger. Administrative penalties, fines, and even repairs or demolition can be carried out if the owners don't comply. Failure to comply with an order can result into fines up to $10,000 per day for each day the violation continues past the deadline, and general offenses fines for individuals up to $50,000 for the first offense and up to $100,000 for any offense after. They also have the corporations in here. So they have a fine up to $500,000 for the first offense, and then up to for the first offense, and then up to $1.5 million for offenses after. I'm not making this stuff up, guys. We'll share the links here for you so you can read it for yourself. But here's the twist. Council voted 4-5 against further consultation on this bylaw. No changes were made for the inspection wording without warrant. Staff explain that with upcoming elections and heavy workload, that they simply don't have the capacity to consult further. Here's what's concerning is that when the councillor Helen Swery asked why the city seemed to be duplicating rules already covered by the Residential and Tenancy Act and the Landlord and Tenant Board, staff said that while the RTA outlines maintenance requirements, the active enforcement of property standards fall to the municipality when a bylaw exists. The Landlord and Tenant Board handles disputes, mediation, and education, but does not enforce maintenance. And when asked if they consulted landlords and tenant groups, staff pointed to open houses, pop-up events, and online surveys. But out of the city population of over 130,000, only 720 people responded. That's a tiny fraction weighing in on rules that impact everyone. Now I've had to ask the experts to weigh in on this, including a formal paralegal with 10 years of experience. And he's going to be recording a video breaking down what this bylaw really means for landlords and tenants. So stay tuned for that. Next up, we got Bill 10. The province has passed these measures respecting premises of illegal drug activities, and regulations are coming soon. Private landlords can now face fines up to $250,000 and even jail time if they are deemed to have knowingly permitted illegal drug activity. I'm not making this stuff up either. I'll put that in the link as well. Here's the problem. We cannot fully discriminate against an applicant just based on their criminal history, and it takes time to do a criminal report. We must provide 24-hour legal notices before even entering into a unit. I'm sure tenants can hide an elephant within that time. We cannot remove tenants or seize the properties ourselves. Yet landlords are being held accountable without policing powers, while some government funded and nonprofit housing providers may be exempted. This is what this proposal is. We have 11 days. This is creating a two-tier system where private landlords bear the brunt. Fair accountability is critical. Finally, we have another landlord story, unfortunately, highlighting the importance of reporting tenants who don't pay their rent or their utilities. A Brampton landlord says a tenant hasn't paid rent for almost a year, over $23,000 in unpaid rent and utilities, and the landlord and tenant board won't hear the case until next month. This is why it's important for our community to report their tenants to Front Lobby. You don't need a landlord and tenant board order or the tenant's consent. Rent and utility delinquencies are reported to the credit bureaus in the middle of the month for the previous month, which informs our landlords and protects your investments. I want to thank our sponsors and anyone who's tuning in to be a part of this channel and this platform. I want to thank Front Lobby. We want to be able to thank Landlord Credit Bureau, Canadian Tenant Inspection Services, Coffee and Mortgages. We definitely need mortgages now with 2026 rolling around. Commercial real estate, our friends with the cooperators, Ray Johnson's and Associate, of course, our local KW Property Management, and let's not forget our renovation solutions. And now it's my pleasure to welcome tonight's very special guest, Sarah Molnar. I get that right?
Sarah Molnar. Yeah, that's it.
A property manager in Chatham-Kent, Sarah sits between tenants and landlords every day. She sees late night maintenance calls, aging boilers, and she sees the financial statements. She's also an amazing voice for housing providers and good tenants, and spoke out against the renovation bylaw in Chatham Council. Tonight, we'll be talking about renovation bylaws, property standards, Bill 10, and everything in between. Remember, this is personal advice, not legal advice. Let's get into it. Sarah, thank you so much. I want to be able to, before I want to tell people how I found her. And I was watching the council. We had a ton of tenants that were coming up and speaking against renovictions. And this lady just stood out and she's like, I'm a property manager, not their property manager. And then she did speak with so much confidence and common sense. And I want to thank you for doing that, because a lot of people don't get the memo of what's happening fast enough. And I'm glad that you're paying attention to what your city is doing. So welcome to our Ontario Landlords Watch community and Kayla Unfiltered, the Housing Call-In Show, and being so brave to speak your mind, because this is what it's all about. Tell everybody why you got into property management.
Oh, geez. So it's a family business. Grandparents had properties. My mom had properties. She opened the business about 10 years ago, and we've just gone from there. And I really got into the advocacy side of things. I sit on our local chamber and kind of learned the ins and outs of, when you're talking to governments or just, you want to provide solutions. So that's where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do a deputation. When this came up, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to, talk about what exactly they're proposing. And I know we'll get into all of those things, but yeah, it was quick.
You're bred into this business, just like my husband was.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much it. You grow and then you keep growing. You're like, oh, okay, here we are.
I tell you, shout out to any property manager. I did it for 2 years. And sometimes, landlords, we could be difficult too. And just as much as the tenants are. So make sure that you're respecting your property manager and understand that they are dealing with their own little hurdles and process that they have to do as a business owner and wearing the hat as the landlord. Now, Sarah, what is your biggest challenge that you think as a property manager in Chatham-Kent is?
The biggest challenge? There's so many challenges. Honestly, it depends if you're talking about maintenance, if you're talking about leasing. Maintenance is just sometimes managing expectations from tenants and landlords. So obviously tenants want to make sure that their properties are being taken care of, and all their maintenance issues are being taken care of immediately. And then just in the world right now, that we live in, everybody's expectations are now. They want answers now. They want answers yesterday. And oftentimes, if something happens, if something breaks down, I can't fix it. And there's still time, like a fridge, for instance, right? You've got a fridge and I can't have one the next day. It takes me a week to order it. And in those expectations, and they're like, what are you going to do? And it's like, you give them just a rental for the time being. But honestly, managing expectations on both sides, and then landlords, their expectations as well. And I do have some amazing landlords, and most of them are fantastic. But sometimes there's that gap where it's like, hey, this is broken. Do I have permission to fix it? And then tenants are upset because it's not fixed, and landlords are like, well, do I have to fix it? And then it's like, okay, yeah, we've got property standards, RTA, building code, all these things that we have to follow. And as a property manager, you're not, like, we take education, right? Like, we're always trying to stay up to date on all of the things that are changing. And then you throw into the mix stuff like this, that municipalities are now changing things. Like, you've got the fire code that just changed. And then we're expected to know all of these things and stay up on everything. There's a lot of things that happen. And then on the leasing side of things, honestly, screening. And I know, like, you're huge with the front lobby, and I want to see a world where screening is easy, right? Like, you go to your credit check and you see, oh, they've paid their rent on time. Awesome, amazing. Because we turn down so many people because, they say, hey, like, number one, I always make sure my rent is paid on time. Always, always. But I have no source of truth. All of this fraud out there, right? Like, you don't know if these documents are true. Like, I can change a document easily. So having one source of truth would just be great. And that's where, we're pushing the Ontario. Again, I sit on the Ontario chamber, on the local chamber, and we're pushing the Ontario chamber to, maybe push the provincial government to say, hey, we can house more people if this is in place. Yeah. So
they just have to tell people about it, right? They have to just put it on their website, do some sponsor, like, they spend so much money in just advertising their plans and their policies. Well, tell people about being able to report monthly payment history to the credit bureaus with front lobby. Like this, it's not as simple. It's a way for landlords to report tenants faster. You don't have to go to the landlord and tenant board. It puts the tenants on notice that there's consequences, and you're helping these good tenants who may have had like a burp in the road and there was some things that credit.
So many.
And there was a divorce, but if I see that you pay your rent on time, these are ways for us to get us in there. And you guys as a property manager are stuck in between, because your job is, like, a lot of landlords require, we look at a property manager and think you're going to be the best, you're going to get us good tenants. And what they also are looking at right now is real estate agents trying to do tenant screening for them, thinking that you're going to get your unit out there further just because it's on MLS and you're getting screened by a real estate agent. So a lot of moving parts have been happening, and it has changing. And I always have a heart for property managers, because it's not an easy job, because you have to put two different type of hats on. And I see where the landlords are coming from. Like, it's number crunching. And that's probably why they're like, do I really want to be able to fix this right now? Can I delay it a little bit? And we always tell them, like, you're going to have a lot more problems down the road if you're not fixing it now, and you're going to be taking a good tenant and making them go bad, right? And this is where you have a good tenant going bad, and this is where sometimes we have good landlords going bad based on the systems that were dealt with.
Well, and then sometimes they don't have the capital. Like, you have some buildings that I have an owner, it was an eightplex, and $30,000 because they need a new boiler system. They can't pull that out of thin air. It's old. Right. So, they have to go and they have to get that capital. So, or get a line of credit or get whatever to try and come up with that kind of money to do the repairs. And then you've got tenants and they're just like, well, you're doing this on purpose. It's like, no, I promise you, I'm not.
or it's the online tenants. Well, if you can't afford to maintain your
Oh
property,
my gosh.
don't buy it. It's like, whatever
Oh
happened
yeah.
to like the caring of just homeowners? Like we have, like I just found out today that we have approximately $39 million in outstanding property taxes, and that's impacting just over 6,000 homes in our city. And
Wow.
7 of these properties are now for sale because of people defaulting on their property taxes. So I think we have another crisis brewing. It's just all depends on when we get that information to the public and when people start kind of figuring out what's happening.
Yeah.
Sarah, we
Yeah.
talked about rent evictions. I want to start that one off because I know this is how I found you. We'll definitely get into Bill 10 and we're going to talk about property standards because what you guys need to understand is that cities like to watch each other and they love to be able to see, oh, well, this city did it. Now this city's doing it. And this is what's happening now just in the rent eviction side of it in itself. They started off in Waterloo asking for a rent eviction license. It's very heavily bombarded by tenant unions. These tenants are obviously not getting their way at the provincial level, and now they're taking advantage of these city councilors, thinking like, hey, we can like kind of push it over and get you to do the exact same thing, not knowing that there's so many rules and procedures and policies in place that do protect tenants and does put a lot of onus on the owner for when they do need to ask the tenant to vacate in order to do renovations. Now you spoke up. You're not the type of person to speak up. What made you want to speak up regarding rent eviction bylaws?
Well, I think because honestly, like, any landlord, any property manager knows, like, it doesn't do anything. Like, it legitimately will not stop these rent evictions. And, you want to just say, you want to scream and be like, it's just going to give people false hope. And then everybody's going to go about their day. Oh, the municipality has a rent eviction bylaw. But at the end of the day, it will not stop bad faith rent evictions. And I just hate the word rent evictions. It drives me bananas. But,
it's the divide. It's the divide that I think our elected officials are utilizing to say it as that word, because now when we talk to elected officials about this, we would question, are you trying to stop homeowners from legally doing renovations in their unit, or are you trying to stop bad actors? And that's the difference here. From what I can gather from each municipality, they're trying to stop renovations and asking a tenant to vacate. And if we do really need it, they want us to compensate tenants. They want us to compensate them for their new rent somewhere else. They want short-term accommodations, moving expenses. Like, it's already costly as it is for a landlord to do the renovations. Now you want us to pay for accommodations for a tenant. Like, there's risk coming with renting and there's risks coming with owning.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, so if you want to stop these rent evictions, why would you want to stop an owner that legitimately wants to fix their property and add more costs to it? Because what they're trying to stop is, the bad actors and making people homeless. That's what I've got from council and the mayor and things like that. They're just like, but it's a homeless issue. And it's like, yes and no, because technically they can come back at the same price. So what you're trying to stop is those conversations. That's what you're trying to stop, is the conversations and, maybe tenants not knowing that, hey, you can come back. You just have to give 30 days and then you're good. Sorry, I'm just so happy.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's my first show.
I'm going to encourage our voices. It's like I'm hearing Sarah's voice, you're hearing mine, and I want to hear yours. So jump into the comments.
Yeah.
Even some crazy ones. Like I had someone said I look like Britney Spears the other day.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm like before or after? Because that's not a problem.
Before a landlord or after. Yeah. So it's like, how can what they're trying to stop is not the rent eviction. They're trying to stop the bad actors that come in and say, hey, we're going to come in, and then tenants don't know the rights. It's like, that's what we need education for tenants, because you're never going to stop what they're trying to stop. You can't stop a landlord from going up to somebody and saying, hey, I can't afford to make these renovations. If you give, I'll give you $5,000. Will you vacate the property? And then the tenants are just like, oh, and the tenants think they have to. And I think that's what they're trying to stop is, those conversations. And you can't. That's not whether their renovation license is not going to stop a landlord from having a conversation saying, hey, I'll give you cash for keys. And like, those are legal, right? And, I've done those conversations, and most of, we've offered a fair amount of money. And I've had somebody, they're like, you know what? I went out and bought a house and I had a down payment. And like, it's not always a bad conversation. It's just a balance saying, hey, like, your rent's really low, and I'll give you some money because I need to refinance, and I can't refinance if the rent's low. Like, that's just the reality is the whole financing.
I feel like it's our business, and any business talks about negotiations, and the people that we're renting to are adults. And let's be honest, our tenants are more educated than our landlords are on rights. And if you can look at how we have AI and even the N13, the notice that you give your tenant when you're serious about a renovation, it states the tenant's rights right on the application. Like, you do not have to move out. Every tenant has a right for a hearing to vouch that they don't need to be leaving the rental unit. And the landlord has to do so much proof in the pudding before they can even get an eviction order.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What you need to renovate. Crazy. Even for flooring, like, you want me to move my tenant's stuff, like from one room to another. We have plumbing that's outdated, electrical outdated. Like, a lot of our properties are aging infrastructure, but we have an opportunity for elected officials to know that there's an election that is coming up in October. They see the majority of people, thinking we have more tenants than we do landlords. And now they have an opportunity to look like superheroes, because this is what happens when they talk about rent eviction. They get their name in the newspaper, right? Like, this is what happens. This is why they want to talk about it. And this is why we need to be doing what we're doing right now, talking about it as well, so that people identify that don't play into this political theater that some of these elected officials are doing. It does not do well for the tenants. I know it sucks when you have to be displaced in order for these renovations to be done. But at the same time, when you don't do these renovations, now tenants can apply to the landlord and tenant board as a rent rebatement, because we've ruined the enjoyment of their rental unit.
It's a double-edged sword. It's like, what do you want? Do you want us to fix it, or you don't want us to fix it? And then you have property standards, and it's like, okay, we want to keep our properties up to date, and your RTA, your property standards, all of it. We want to make sure that we're providing housing to our tenants, but they handcuff us, right? It's like
they're forcing us to be a social agency for the government with no compensation. Deep down, that's what they're doing. Because if they really want it, and it's not just the renovation factor. Like, what about our developers? Our developers who are coming in and they're finding these properties that have been so run down over the years. It's just at its limit. It needs to be taken down, but it's still a couple of tenants left in the place. They're going to make it harder for those people to provide more supply to that market as well. And not only that, but municipalities are also coming up with new bylaw that if you are a developer trying to come in and demolish a property, they want you to not only find another rental property for that tenant, they want you to offer one of your brand new units back to the tenant at the same rate. So again, we like to start talking about that overreach that municipalities are doing right now, that is taking over they're not staying in their own lane, and they're taking over the responsibilities that are supposed to be the province right now. And this is where we call upon the province to say, hey, mom and dad, when are you going to put these municipalities in their own lane? And because the province is doing something absolutely great with Bill 60, but now they come in and they allow municipalities to create and duplicate each and everything that the province is already doing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it is very frustrating. And how do you as a landlord navigate that? Like, I don't know how many clients that I have, they're like, we're out, we're done. Like there's so much, first of all, there you can't get anybody out of your property for 6 months. And then if you're lucky, once you get the order, then they do 5 stays, which thank goodness, right? Like they can't do,
Stay, a review, back to
yeah, all of these
standards.
things. Yeah. Meanwhile, there's drugs and things happening in these properties, and you're just like, okay. But so many housing providers and so many investors and developers that I know, they're like, I'm not investing in residential. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to go either to the States, or you're going to go to Alberta. We all love Alberta laws. Or, you're just going to invest in commercial. Why invest in housing? And that's an issue. You're like, how many landlords do you talk to? They're like, I'm out of Ontario because this is too hard.
Well, it's like, and then I just posted a post. I didn't want to throw you off there.
Yeah.
It's like we talk about the long to fix your nailed with the vacancy tax. Like this is where like Hamilton is like a prime source of like if NGP ever got voted in at a provincial level, Hamilton is that example. Like they have the landlord licensing, they have the safe apartments, they have vacancy tax, they have water billing. Like they literally are throwing the landlords underneath the bus, and we have to really pay attention and be very clear here. Our private landlords, our small private landlords, are 70% of the housing supply approximately. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, what happens when that starts to shrink? Is it our big landlords, our big REITs going to be able to keep building, managing, maintaining all these type of properties? They're technically canceling a lot of their development right now, but we're now putting more pressure on taxpayers, more pressure on the taxpayers to build, manage, maintain, subsidize. Not only that, but provide funding for grants to grants for people who are organizing homelessness without in their community, of grants for nonprofit housing providers. Like we're starting to see that it may not be a province issue. I feel personally that it's a mismanagement of the housing crisis at regional and municipal level, and a spending problem. Like they're spending their money foolishly and not in good. And just like what happened in Hamilton, like these people were banking like over $2 million for 40 temporary shipping containers. It ballooned over 7 mil, and they had like over $500,000 dollars that's needed to upgrade it to even standards, because they were so quick on the dial trying to get these units that they never even did proper research and due diligence with it. So they got audited. Obviously, they got thrown underneath the bus. But what happens? What happens to them when they screw up? But here for us, we get hefty fines. Like if you were a landlord right now trying to do a bad faith eviction, do you know the fines for a bad faith eviction?
It's insane, like 50,000, or personally, I can't even recall. I'm sure you do. It's high, and that's why I'm like, nobody does. Well, nobody that I know does a bad faith. Nobody's filing these.
Oh yeah, these are up to like $100,000.
Yeah.
With $100,000 and up to $500,000 for a corporation for doing a bad faith eviction. There was a landlord. I can try to put that link in there too, so that you guys can see. But she was fined $100,000 for doing a bad faith eviction. But at the same time, we also are including personal use applications. And what was sad and unfortunate is that this lady, she was inside of her home. She needed it for personal use. She moved into it. And at the 11th month, she had to be taken out of that home and put into an old age home. And because she moved
No way.
home within that time frame, the tenants came back and deemed it as bad faith eviction. Yeah.
How does that even happen?
I have no clue. The way that the landlords are feeling here, and I know we don't want to be a bearer of bad news, but at the same
No.
time, we have to tell you what's happening, guys, so that you fight it. You have to fight it. You have to fight this. You have to just connect with people like me and Sarah, connect with the other community members in Ontario Landlords Watch, so that we can come together and say, one, we have to start highlighting what our municipalities are doing, identifying that there is a process in place. talk to the province and say, hey, you guys need to come down and figure out what's happening here, because we're being pulled between a rock and a hard place right now as landlords, trying to provide housing, providing units for people who can't afford to buy homes themselves, or they're not able to wait much longer on a waiting list for housing that's 10 to 22 years long.
Yeah.
That's a different system in itself.
Well,
How that's
yeah, and like you say, like you can't leave it to big investors, because all you're going to get left with are brand new builds. And then when you've got CMHC, and I don't 100% know exactly what they consider affordable. Like, what is affordable when you're building and you're getting your CMHC loans? What does that even mean? So you're left with all brand new housing and all of this aging rental stock. And I wish I actually knew the numbers, but you figure like our fourplexes, duplexes are purpose built. It's aging. It's, 60, 80 years old. It needs to be renovated, but then there's rent control. So how are landlords?
And leases that don't expire.
Oh, yeah. So how are you supposed to fix your property when you don't have the income coming in? Banks won't lend you. You can't pull any equity out because you're not technically have any equity, and you can't fix it. So what are you supposed to do? So all of this aging stock just sits there, and then the municipality comes in and says, oh, we have to fix it, otherwise we're going to fine you. What's going to happen is everybody's just going to go bankrupt. And then what happens? Yeah. Then you have no housing.
Well, even from one of this bylaw within the city of Cambridge, they talked about permits and requiring permits. I'm like, so is this like, are you guys introducing like permits in order to renovate our units now? Or is this based on bigger projects, or just permits based on the city telling us that we need to do this maintenance work order that's happening? And I think that's what we get in. And I think it's a perfect transition into the bylaw that just happened in Cambridge, where they're trying to upkeep what was already there, or add some things that are in new. But they come in and they're trying to, they initially stated in their wording, and I want to get the wording like very precise here for you guys, because it's that was the part that stayed. Like it stayed there. No one really batted an eye on it, and they really didn't talk about it. They talked about it verbally at council, but didn't really get into it. And it literally, I'll put this report in there. It might not come up. Just bear with me. So it says 8.2. So this is on the council meeting minutes for the February 24th. You click on minutes, and then you click on property standards. Scroll down into the 8.0, you'll see that an officer or any persons acting under his or her instructions may, upon producing paper identification, enter upon any property at any reasonable time without a warrant for the purpose of inspecting the property to determine A, whether the property conforms to the standards prescribed in the bylaw, or whether the order has been complied with. And only at council on Tuesday night is when they stated that, oh, we're not going to come into the property. We're just going to be on the property. But no one made any amendments to that section stating that in order to get entry, they do need the homeowner's consent and or a warrant, right? So this is where we look at municipal government and their staff getting into rules and regulations of the province, because the province says everything. It talks about, needs to be kept in good repair. It tells you everything to do with rodents. It tells you about the heat staying at 20%, 20 degrees. Why is it that they need to up it to 21 degrees? And if you already have the power as property standards to deal with mold within the rental unit, why do they need to exercise their power and try to come in with an air quality? I'm pretty sure you get a little bit of mold anywhere in your home, even around your bathtub. We're going to see tenants take advantage of this. Call property standards. It's going to waste taxpayers' money coming into our rental units to deem us to be unfit and it's going to be moldy, and then they're going to give you a short time frame in order to address the maintenance issues. And if you do need more time, because either you might need the tenant to vacate or there might be a dispute between you and your tenant, you now need to pay a fee to have a hearing within your municipality to deem why you need to get more time. Did you guys get all that?
Yeah, you know what floors me? I'm like, how does the municipality have the right to go into somebody's unit, but police officers need a warrant when you legit know that something is happening? Like, how can the criminal code be over, like, supersede, or sorry, how did the municipality supersede the criminal code, and police officers can't go in when you know that they're dealing drugs, they've got weapons, but they have to spend months trying to build out a warrant to enter these properties. Like, I just had one, and my tenants are like terrified, obviously, and I'm like, believe me, trust me, I'm working on it, but you just got to get the sheriff and like everything. We've been working on this since September, and they're like, and even the police, they're working on this warrant for months and months and months, but now the city can go in and look at mold.
And that's the part of like what I had a problem with, is how each individual section is written and how it's going to be portrayed to their property standards bylaw officers. Because if I read that as a new bylaw officer, I'm going to be like, I'm going to show you my ID. I'm allowed to come in. And if you don't allow me to come in, then it's another you impacting my work, and I can actually get you fined. Right. So again, it comes down to like, when are we going to, and they know this, like, because I brought it up at our council meeting, and we also talked about the occupancy. Like, obviously we had a lot of people who were complaining about rooming houses. People in the community are like, I don't like the traffic, it's a safety issue that's happening. And again, we like to say, like, is the landlord doing the overcrowding, or is the tenants in the unit doing overcrowding? We need to be very precise what's happening here. I said my overall goal would be like, anyone who's inside the rental unit would be on a lease. And then the lease is what you're going to give a bylaw officer if they ever called upon you to say, hey, we're getting word that it's overcrowding. Can you show us how many people are supposed to be on the lease? Because we're able to change that or make it mandatory that tenants can or be forced to give us a detailed, up-to-date information of who's living in it. But in this bylaw, it did define 2 adults per bedroom and 4 kids per bedroom, based on children under 12 being considered a half a person.
And then on top of that, so again, they're overstepping, because family law says like 2 children of separate sex after, I believe, the age of 6 are not allowed to be in the same bedroom. So like, where's this clarity? Like, how are we supposed to navigate? Like, you've got all of these laws, and then it's like, okay, well, which one do we follow? Because we're not really sure. And then the LTB, it's like, okay, yeah, I have overcrowding, or I know there's more people that are supposed to be in that, but I can't do anything. Like, what are they going to do? Give us a fine, but we still can't evict them? I don't really understand how that's going to work.
And the other concerning part that we have with this bylaw, and remember, like, just because it's happening in Cambridge, guys, doesn't mean that it's not going to be happening in your city soon, because they love talking to each other as city staff. It talked about disconnecting utilities, and on 5.79, it says, no owner or any person acting on behalf of such owner shall disconnect or cause or permit the disconnection of any service or utility at a rental unit, except for such reasonable period of time as may be necessary for the purpose of repairing, replacing, or otherwise altering said service or utility. 5.80 says every owner shall be deemed to have caused the disconnection of a service or utility if they're obligated to pay the supplier and fails to do so as a result of non-payment. The service or the utility is no longer provided. Also carrying on to, every supplier shall give 30 days notice to the municipal bylaw compliance division when planning to disconnect service or utility at a building containing 1 or more rental units. So are we like, if tenants stop paying, they're like, we got to keep, like, a lot of this has to go. And this is why we really wanted a review. I'm going to be posting the individual councilors who voted against having more consultations, especially with landlord and tenant communities, in order to make better judgment in creating a bylaw that obviously needed to be revamped. But how are you guys handling this in Ontario? Like it sucks when you can't even. This is why I like doing this show with Sarah, because like these are the opportunities where we get more than 5 minutes to explain, create some reels, send it over to our elected officials and staff. And education is going to be key for them, and making sure our municipalities and our residents in our city and our community of landlords and property managers know who's who at city, who's doing what, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it. Because the election at a municipal level is probably the most important that I think, and all of the provincial and federal stuff, like it's so important we get the right people into government at the municipal level, because really that's where all your money is being sucked.
Yeah. And it's like you can scream at the top of your lungs. You're just like, can you guys just have us at the table just so that we can give you a different perspective? Because how are you writing policy when you don't know anything about it? Like, how can you do that? It boggles my mind.
Well, this is a perfect opportunity. I'll show you the little clip that I caught, because I found it very shocking how it was being worded. So I want to see if I can put this to context for you, what was happening in Cambridge on the 24th. So it's a little 2-minute video. Get comfy. We're going to be back on, given our thought process, but I want to make sure that we show it to you. Stay tuned. Hold on.
Only questions. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Devine.
I'm asking my question.
Sorry, I thought you.
No, thank you.
Okay.
So my question is for bylaw, or maybe Hardy or you. Why are you duplicating rules that already exist with the landlord and tenant board? What was the purpose of that, since you don't have jurisdiction over the province?
So the province, the Residential Tenancies Act does outline maintenance requirements for properties. And actually on the landlord tenant board, I printed out what it says on the website, but it does refer individuals to municipalities to have matters addressed under local bylaws. Where there are no property standards bylaws in a municipality, that's where the Residential Tenancies Act is enforced by the rental housing unit. But when a municipality has a property standards bylaw, which we currently do, it's enforced at the local municipal level. The Landlord Tenant Board oversees matters related to the Residential Tenancies Act, and it deals with mediation, it provides education to the public, and it deals with issues with disputes over lease agreements and stuff. But the actual enforcement of maintenance standards, it falls to the municipalities when there is a property standards bylaw in place.
Thank you. If I may follow up on that. I'm not sure if I agree with that, because the landlord and tenant board does regulate property standards as well. So if somebody has a problem, they contact the landlord and tenant board, and then they have a certain amount of time to fix the problem. So that's my question, but I also see there's other things that contradict the landlord and tenant board. So that was confusing to me, and I'm not sure why you're doing that.
And through you, Mayor Liggett, this particular bylaw, the Property Standards Bylaw, is passed pursuant to the Building Code Act. So it's not passed under the Residential Tenancies Act. So all the provisions in this bylaw are governed by the Building Code Act, and that's our main authority for passing this bylaw, enforcing it, and everything else that goes along with it. The Residential Tenancies Act, like I said, they do outline maintenance standards in rental units, which are enforced by the province, so the rental housing enforcement unit, but they only get involved when there's no property standards bylaw in a municipality.
All right, thanks. I'll come back to more questions.
So just so that, excuse me, we can all understand. Sorry. We have to go by the building code. That's what this is all about, and that's what we have to go by.
Through you, Mayor Liggett, yes, correct. Okay. This is passed pursuant to the Building Code Act.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mehta.
What? There's
I'm so happy that there's like council meetings online, because I can save you hours of time just by trying to give you guys some like information.
Yeah, exactly. The enforcement, they enforce it. We are told you have to fix that. you will get a fine if you do not. So I'm not sure where the duplication is. And what was it? The last part he said, they only get involved
if there's no property standards bylaw in placed in within a municipality, which most municipalities are in there, and the enforcement unit, they deal with like lockouts. I think that's usually when the enforcement gets in there, or the landlord just took a door from their tenant and saying, I'm going to fix it. And then they're going to kind of like more of an immediate type of situation that's happening.
Yeah.
But if there's a discrepancy between maintenance and the temperature, like the tenants have to provide their evidence to show that the landlord did not provide proper maintenance to it. And the fact remains here is that tenants have that option to leave. You know what I mean? Like, where is the municipalities coming to the landlord's rescue when the tenants are not taking out their garbage? They're leaving cars that are broken down. They're not insured. They're broken. They're sitting on our property. We want them towed. They don't come in when a tenant is smoking within their property, and it's against city bylaws when it comes down to smoking. Like, they don't want to intervene when it's convenient for the landlord, but when a tenant comes to them, now they want to intervene. And this is where we're going to see, staff doing what they do, not getting the full understanding of what it is. And this is why it needs to be left to the province.
And 100%. And on that, it's like, so they fine us. It's like, I have no control over my tenant, doing all of these things, but I get the fine. So now you're going to give us more fines. And then we have no tools to get the tenant out. Like, the tenant's putting garbage at the curb constantly. We've got a new bylaw with bulk garbage, and I'm getting the fines constantly, or the cleanups. And then there's just, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, here's another example, because this is why we're doing early Kayla Unfiltered. I got a notice on the door of our rental property on a sixplex stating that there was snow on the sidewalk, and that it was the sidewalk, the sidewalk at the end of your driveway. Yeah. And now that the notice was put onto our rental, that was put on the 13th of December. On the 14th of December, they came and did an inspection, seeing that the snow was still there, and that they charged me $86 for a fee because they had to inspect again. Then they came back out on the 16th and inspected the property again and charged $86. But on the 16th, they also shoveled it down to the pavement, because the bylaw wants you having your sidewalks down to the pavement where you can see pavement. Then they also, we checked our mail before we went on vacation on the 3rd. There was nothing in our mailbox. When we came back on the 15th of January, we had 2 pieces of mail. One was dated for the 22nd. One was dated for the 22nd. Both of them are inside of the same envelope in itself. And then they charged a fine of $297 because we didn't do the snow removal of this little bit of snow. And to make the matter worse is that when they showed the picture of the snow, and I should have actually did it I'll put it into the comments, because I want you guys to all see this. There wasn't much snow, but on December 13th, there was light snow, and there was light snow on the 14th, and there was light snow on the 15th. And now they're taking pictures on the 16th where it shows very limited amount of snow, and people can walk, scooters can get in there, people with disabilities, people with strollers, they can get on the snow. It's not much. And then I also took another picture of the road, which had 2.5 inches of ice build up on our road. And I took a measuring tape and showed it. And this is what I'm doing now tonight at 6:30 with council is telling them that there is going to be about people not showing their snow, period. 2, knowing that there is a salt shortage throughout the province. And now you're going to come after and penalize homeowners just because of a little bit of snow that was on the sidewalk. And to make the matter worse is that there was 75 homes on one street that got notices telling them that they had to get rid of the snow and ice buildup on their property. And again, this comes back from many of the community members upset about the way that the city was doing their snow shoveling on the roads and the side streets. And once they were being very vocal about that, bylaw came out and said, oh, yeah, like this is my little interpretation of it is like, oh, you're going to complain about us not doing our work, huh? Well, let's go after you and making sure that you're doing your civic duty. I don't think anybody wants to, but we have a lot of people out there that do have disabilities, homeowners and seniors, and putting everyone in this blanket. And this is why I will be presenting at this council meeting that's coming up now at 6:30 tonight. But I also like to highlight that Mississauga has now introduced where they're going to do the snow clearing on all sidewalks in all of the city. But they're going to prioritize what they do first, and then 24, 36 hours, they're going to do the rest of the sidewalks. And this is where your tax paying money feels like it's worth it. You're like, yeah, I don't got to do some snow shoveling. Like, let's go here. And you can support that with your taxes. But unfortunately, our taxes are being spent elsewhere, and a lot of people don't have the time or the patience to be able to figure out where your taxpayer money is going. Okay.
Is that specific that it says our bylaw isn't that specific? Like they just introduced it like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not exactly sure, but they took it away. You now have to shovel in front of all of your properties and things in salt. But it's not specific to at what point. Like the city has their not bylaw, but their regulations that's like 7.5 centimeters or whatever it is. That's when they're going to come out and do theirs. But there's no specific bylaw that gives, okay, after 2 inches, that's when you have to plow in Chatham-Kent. So it's interesting that they say down to the pavement in the bylaw.
Down to the pavement. I'm actually like, you got me curious now. I'm going through, I was trying to clean up my files today because my computer wouldn't let me download any more of my content. But I do have the videos here, the pictures, because I think it's important for everyone to see it. Give me some time. I'm gonna find this.
Yeah. And it's just like, how can you, and also I think we have like 24 hours, but then the city has like 24 to 48 hours. Like it's,
there we go.
Like, what happens if you go away for the weekend? Now on Monday morning, I'm going to have a fine because I was away for the weekend at a hockey tournament. Like,
well, the other side of it is too is like I well, like when I did go away, like I was home. My husband works full time. As soon as the snow stops, you have that time frame where you have to come and do you have to do the snow clearing, and he does it. Like I think he does it to get out of the house, to be honest. So to get a notice, it was very shocking to see, like, wow, like you guys are going ahead and you're giving me a notice on the door. And what's funny and what's interesting, I can't say it's funny, we had a situation where my toilet in the basement was actually running like crazy. And guess who called me? Guess who called? It was the city calling me and telling me that I'm actually getting a lot of water, spending a lot of water right now. Why couldn't the city call me and tell me about this infraction at my rental property so that I can deal with it? Or do they want compliance or do they want punishment? And I think that's the key that I really want to like, I disputed this, and they offered me $150 as a fee instead of $650 for the sidewalk. And I was like, no, I'm fighting this on principle, and I'm fighting it for other housing providers and other residents in our community to let them know that's not right. That's not right to be having that type of rule and strictness that they have going on here. Okay, so I was able to download everything. Where did it go? Okay, we got the one where, give me a minute. This is the live and me being the only person. I need like someone to like do this stuff for me.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got that one. Let's go back just to make sure, because I gotta show you the snow one. Like that's the most important one here. Because I understand we have people with disabilities. They need to be, I've seen this poor woman that was on the street in Preston, and like, it was so sad to see how she was on the street with her scooter. And it was like, obviously I'm very compassionate to this. But when it comes down to our city now, almost like making a business off of coming after us as housing providers, like we already have enough to kind of deal with.
Yeah, and what would be the difference between a phone call or the administrative to actually to make a phone call?
So there's no.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? Put it in the comments, guys. I want to know. Like, is this something like, and remember, there was light snow on the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, and this is taken on the 16th. And then this is, and it also, pardon?
That's the whole street. Everybody's got it. And everybody got the fines.
I know, but you know what? Not even on this street. The neighbor beside us, they never got a notice. No, not them. They didn't get it. And this is how they wanted it. This is how they want your sidewalks at all times after every snowfall. But I would like to pay attention to this is what we have for. I didn't really mean to get into snow removal, but because it's we'll jump into Bill 10 before we leave, guys. Don't you worry. And this is the street, so how is that allowed? And this little bit of snow where people can move and walk freely. And honestly, as a walker in the snow, I prefer this than this, because when you hear you got black ice, you're not seeing it and you're wiping out. So thank you for listening to me and venting. I'm getting myself prepared for this council meeting that's coming up on Saturday. And I just want to know that we have our voices heard and that we're making our money well worth it, and they're not taking advantage of us hardworking taxpayers of the city. Okay. We're almost out of time. I only have Sarah for a little bit, and then I got to jump on at 6:30. So we talk about the Bill 10. Bill 10. That in itself, I'll give you guys a little thing of what's happening here. So this is something that has already passed. I'm sorry that I didn't get information about it and try to bring you guys all together to fight it before it did get passed, but it did pass. It's got its royal assent. But now there's an opportunity. There's 11 days left where we are able to propose new regulations underneath these measures, in which the new regulations underneath these measures, guys, this is about exempting. This is about exempting housing providers, nonprofit housing providers, exempting the government, all of them into not being underneath this. Only the private landlords, and only the private landlords who take government subsidies, they're the ones that are going to be impacted by Bill 10. And when you get to look at what it talks about with seizing the items of evidence, they talk about closing up your rental property. They talk about fining a landlord of $250,000 if you knowingly know that there's some kind of drug activity that's happening in there. And at the same time, you can also deal with potential jail time that they are putting forward within this. So they technically want you to be a rat on your tenants. And at the same time, we have to be very careful, because as landlords, we have to put our name, our address, where we live on our standard lease. We can possibly do a criminal record check. I don't know if they're trying to encourage us to do more criminal record checks on our rental properties in order to make sure that we're not dealing with people of criminal. But if you look at how they're trying to exempt these housing providers, and I guess like we're not going to put the retirement home on there, because I don't know if anyone's going to be dealing drugs or doing a drug meth lab in there, but the Living Accommodations for Public Hospital Act, obviously they didn't put them, but the community supportive and transitional housing landlords, the nonprofit housing providers, housing cooperatives, municipalities, district social service administrative boards, and local housing corporations, other communities and or supporting housing units owned and operated by private market landlords. Example, private market landlords who own/operate units that receive government funded rent supplements. All other landlords as defined under the act will be subject to the provisions of this act.
So many things to that. So I guess maybe they're encouraging us to take on their tenants with government subsidies. And how can it, again, a double-edged sword, like how can you even say, oh, you're a private landlord, so you're going to get a fine, but we're not going to? Like, how can you have the same standards? I'm baffled.
Yeah. It's like if you're telling us all we have to do is do our inspections, making sure that we're filing at the landlord and tenant board if we indicate that something's happening here, or call the police if anything is happening here. Why is that so hard for these other providers not to do it? Why even create it if you're just, it's legitly attack just on the private housing providers in itself? Do you think I want to grow up or people dealing drugs out of my unit? No, I'm not going to be like, hey, Sarah, me and you want to like get one of your properties. We're going to create a meth lab. You're not going to talk about it.
Oh
Like,
gosh.
like, and to know that they came out, and luckily, like the people that I've been able to network through throughout my years let me know that this was happening. And like, this is and we got 11 days. I posted the comment, the link where you can register. Some people are having issues saying like if there's been some type of error. So I don't know if we've overflowed it, but hey, that means great things if we broke the system because of our intake. This is actually my post on my personal profile had reached over 64,000 people in less than 24 hours. So great job everyone for sharing it. This is what it's all about. Keep checking in on what crazy stuff I'm posting. I do have some other stuff in the works, but I'm just trying to advocate it at the same time. But we need to call upon our government to like, why is this right? How is this right? Like fight and whatever you do, tell as many landlords you can about this, because it's not right on so many levels. On the fact that I'm not a police officer, I do not want to put myself and my family at risk. I want someone that's going to pay my rent and keep the place clean and not ruin the enjoyment of others. Am I going to know that I'm like dealing with a criminal? No.
We're supposed to discriminate. Oh, you look like a drug dealer.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I just got some weed off of you when you walked into this place. Like because of Bill 10, I'm not going to take any chances, right? Or now are we dealing with landlords that are doing more inspections than they should, and now the tenants are applying harassment on them,
right?
So like you're putting the landlords into a very nervous position that shouldn't be their position. It's up to the police to make sure that they deal with it. If you need to get into to arrest these people, dude, if I'm not available, knock down the damn door. Like, what do you want me to say to you? Right? Like this is the key factor of like how government overreach and making us to be the big brother, because deep down we're not supposed to be caring about what my tenants are doing as long as they keep the place clean and I do my duties. Why are they making us the police and watching these tenants? There's already hostility in itself. Like tenants are very like we get in trouble as landlords if we swear at our tenants. It's literally in one of the bills, but tenants can literally say they're going to kill you and you are completely fine.
You have to file. It'll take a year.
Just a little bit. So the comments there, guys, put yourself in there, like tell them about what's happening. And we're trying to work on a roundtable, trying to get more of our concerns dealt with, especially with municipalities and their overreach. I'm also getting this out there as much as we possibly can regarding because of this proposal that's being done. And I feel like if you're going to screw all of us, one of us, you're screwing all of us. Like that's just how it is. Because no matter which way it is, we are providing a necessity. And to all the tenant haters out there is like, not all tenants can be homeowners. They all do not have great jobs. They don't have great credit. They don't have the down payment. The banks are not going to lend you the money. Like we provide that home for them because our government had started to fail back in the 70s of keep building these type of housing units. And at that, some of these housing units that government taxpayers pay for isn't even not sustainable in itself. We're seeing people who are, on social assistance and they have units that are, their portion is $120 a month for a 2-bedroom with garage, water's included. So we're paying for that. So I think it's about bringing the right people to the table, the small landlords, the property managers, the paralegals, the real estate agents. We need the Minister of Housing, Rob Flack. We need his associate, Grayson Smith. We need Doug Downey, the Attorney General, with his associate, Michael Tabolo. We also need the Minister of Finance, and we need the Minister of Social Services. We have to have so many people involved because this is a very complex issue, and we're really trying hard to give you our grassroots boots on the ground advice and having people like Sarah coming on. And if you guys want to come on, I want to, like, obviously I love you guys in the chat, but if you want to come on and be a part of this discussion, I'm going to put that little Google form in the chat as well, because we have a lot of, we do it every Thursday, and we want to make sure that I have everyone lined up for every Thursday, having your story told, your thoughts of what's happening in Ontario, what's happening within your city, keeping me informed of what's happening within your municipality, what bylaws are happening. I want to make sure that I'm bringing it to the rest of our community so we can be prepared for what is happening. And most importantly, stay tuned for after this council meeting tonight. I'm going to be releasing, this is something you heard it here first, Sarah, get ready. We're going to do an Ontario Landlords Watch registration. And the reason why we need to do a Ontario Landlords Watch registration is for many, many reasons. But we need to look at the fact that we're growing rapidly. There's major changes that are happening at both municipal and provincial level. It's crucial that housing providers are being informed, we're being organized, and we're being represented. So we're going to be doing a free membership registration to demonstrate to our elected officials how many housing providers that Ontario Landlords Watch actually represents. I want to inform you about policy changes happening in your properties, near your properties, in the cities. We want to notify you of urgent municipal council meetings and provincial proposals, such as Bill 10 and stuff that's happening in Cambridge directly. Provide updates relevant to the cities that you invest in, and organize housing providers across Ontario so that our voices are heard. We need to build local leadership teams to monitor and respond to changes happening in each municipality. The tenant unions, they're highly organized and they're being represented across Ontario, and housing providers must also be informed and connected and prepared. So the information that we're collecting is for the communication, the advocacy efforts, and membership coordination, so that your information will never be sold. We're not selling it. This is just a way for us not to depend on social media, on Facebook and LinkedIn and everywhere that I'm posting, and obviously doing these type of lives. And that we know that I want to be able to grow our community in a way that we're getting a stronger voice. Because obviously I just got to watch Sarah at a council meeting, and I'm like, I need her. Like, I had to slow down her video, and I'm like, what was her last name? Is she on Facebook? Like, we need to connect. And same thing with you guys. And I know a lot of people are going to be very hesitant on wanting to come on and share your story. That's why you can be camera off. You can be camera off. No worries. We're okay with that too. I just want you to tell your story. I want you to be able to share with other people what you're dealing with, what the municipalities are doing, and let them know, whoever's watching, of what's happening. So stay tuned to that post. The registration link is going to go out there. I want to thank everyone who is watching and supporting. And again, all of our sponsors who is able to help me create this awesome little background right now. I love doing our podcast now because it's not just the back doors or a picture of Toronto. And we just need to keep getting more tools, and hopefully creating this newsletter that I want to do, creating mail outs to your homes. Also, when there's time is right, I need to be able to call you and be like, hey, it's Kayla, just letting you know this is happening, just in case you didn't get my message, because we need to build our community up. And I want to do that. And I want to bring you different leaders in all of the communities across Ontario, because they're in the grassroots dealing with what you're going to be dealing with as well. And Sarah, on behalf of Ontario Landlords Watch and all of our members, thank you for speaking up for all of the landlords, the housing providers, and our good tenants out there regarding this rent eviction bylaw. And you were up against all those tenants and officials that were obviously wanting to captivate, getting into that newspaper. But I want to thank you for speaking up and being a part of that. If anyone wants to connect with you, how do they connect with you?
They can just reach me by email, sarah@paragonproperty.ca. And I do just want to just say one thing, like, we are so open, all landlords, all investors, like, we want to work with the municipalities. Like, we have solutions, and, if they just come to the table and we all collaborate, like, we can help. And I think that there's such a divide, but there's so many programs that are already out there that we can tap into, and that we can help provide more housing and things like that. But they just need to, don't be scared to talk to us either, right? So
No, and that's the part where I think if they talk to us, it's more like, oh wow, you're with the greedy landlords. Like we
Yeah.
need you to like not like they're posting like these people are posting and these elected officials are taking pictures with Acorn. I've never seen a lot of elected officials posting with landlords of some sort. So we really do need to kind of put that in perspective when we talk with our elected officials. And I'm telling you, pay attention to who's running, pay attention to all the council meetings. A lot of them are online now, so you can kind of see which way your elected officials are going. Anyone who is dealing like this poor landlord that we mentioned in the beginning of the show with $23,000, and obviously another landlord had this very same landlord. I'm putting the link in here for frontlobby.com so that you guys can sign up and report your tenant's monthly payment history. It's being reported to the credit bureaus monthly. You can also report tenants that went back 6 years. They are fully compliant. They have the privacy commissioner report. Everything is good to go with this company. So make sure you jump over, check what they are all about. And you know what? Hey, because I talked about this registry that we're going to be doing, and I'm pumped, and I've been working on it so hard because I think it's really important that we start collaborating and getting the newsletter out there. I'm going to post that link in here for the Google form for you guys as well. So start registering. It's a free membership. I'm going to keep you in the loop so that you don't have to depend on my little tweets and what Facebook algorithm allows me to do. And please subscribe to the Ontario Landlords Watch YouTube channel, because all the videos on Facebook end up getting deleted after so long. So if you want to ever have a video that you want to share with your elected official, jump over to the Ontario Landlords Watch YouTube channel. And I'll be back on next Thursday. And this one's going to be great. We have a lawyer that's coming on, and we're going to talk about divisional court. Oh my God, I don't want to talk about it because we educate our tenants on so many different ways on this, but at the same time, it needs to be said because that in itself is another broken system. Sarah, what advice do you want to leave our members and our viewers?
Oh my gosh, just there's so much. I don't even have anything, but I do want to say, Kayla, thank you so much for being an advocate, because we are all so busy. And, sometimes I hop on and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's happening. Like, do I have time to get something in there? So I appreciate, and I know how much time it takes to be an advocate. And I do appreciate all of that you do and keeping us all informed. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. And I'm looking at building this relationship. I want to have you back on, and with our new guest that's going to be coming on. You don't know her yet, but her name is Teresa. She's coming on, and I want to have a three conversation going on, because I think the energy and the power behind these women are going to be fantastic, and I want to be able to bring that information to you. And then we're going to be starting to do some blogs, and so Sarah's going to start writing some blogs for us. We have Jordan writing some blogs, of course, Teresa. So we want to make sure we're giving you all the information that you need to help you succeed to being a housing provider in Ontario, because you are appreciated, you are valued, and you are definitely needed, even just as a taxpayer in Ontario. So thank you so much for joining. I'm going to jump over into
good luck at council.
And then we're doing Zoom. I was in person. Now I'm doing Zoom. So it's going to be fun that we can do that. And I love that fact. And I got to be very respectful, because that's who I am. And it's just about education and making sure our voices are heard.
Awesome.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Sarah.
so much.
To everyone for watching. Please share this video, share Ontario Landlords Watch, and encourage everyone to join us and advocate for a fair and better housing system for good landlords, good tenants, and taxpayers.